Alright friends, Mystery here. Today, I want to talk about the Expeditions game mode, the new meat and potatoes, the mainline part of the Beyond the Hive update that just came out for Darktide. Give you my opinions on it, my brutally honest opinions. I'm going to be doing this in a couple parts. First, I want to talk generally about how I feel about the game mode, if I'm having any issues with it, whether or not I'm enjoying it, etc., etc. Then I'm going to go on to specifically break down what I think are like the four major sort of design elements, the things that are supposed to make this game mode tick, that are supposed to make this world, this map, or whatever we're considering it tick, and whether or not those are working. And then finally wrap up with some thoughts of my own, some ways that this could be iterated upon and made better, made more enjoyable, made into a game mode that people will want to play long term, because I do have a lot of fears about people, dropping off of this like a cliff as soon as they get whatever penances they want. Although there probably is like some people out there that find enjoyment in this. All that to say, it probably isn't obfuscating my true opinion very much, which is that I don't really enjoy this game mode a whole lot. But before I get into the specifics, if you enjoy Darktide, whether or not you like this game mode, and you want to keep, up with it throughout the year, you want to know more about builds or just think about it, know more about it in general, I'm your guy. I'm going to be there whether I'm playing Expeditions or not. I'm staying with Darktide. I love Darktide, and more Darktide's always a good thing, so we'll take that at least. But yeah, you should subscribe, and if you really want to support me and keep making Darktide content, becoming a member is the best way to do that. Okay, let's go on here, and as I said, big picture, I really just don't vibe with this game mode. Before I even talk about the actual mode itself, first of all, so many crashes. Holy shit, this is crashing constantly. I had a full computer crash yesterday during one of these sessions. I have had today, for some reason, had 5 or 6 instances where the game crashed to desktop. It said something about Expeditions in the error file, in the error that popped up, so it's definitely something going on here. Then we also have error 2014 back with a vengeance, where it'll say, sorry, the mission was aborted unexpectedly. That's the worst one generally, because it ends the mission for everybody. Everybody in the team gets the error, so it just wipes your game off the map. And if you don't extract in this mission, you don't get any of the resources. So yeah, you just wasted your time. So yeah, it's really, really unstable and really bad right now. Plus, I'm hearing across the spectrum a lot of issues of people having other performance things going on. I understand that apparently FSR, I use DLSS, but apparently FSR is broken and not working. Yeah, just a mess from a technical perspective. I thought that, because I had early access to this, I thought that was just something that was going on with the version they gave us, but seeing it on live is really disappointing. So yeah, that sucks, without even talking about the game itself. Okay, now let's talk about the game itself. I don't find this very fun. And yeah, I can't be, I know I'm not alone, because I'm seeing a ton of other people saying it as well, in some nicer and some meaner ways. Really, let me cut down to the core of why I just don't find this very fun. I find Darktide a lot of fun. Darktide I've played for 3,500 hours. I played Vermintide 2 for about 2,000 hours. I played Vermintide 1 for about 400 or 500 hours. And those games, all these games, they have a core identity. They have a core concept. Linear maps, you progress through them, you accomplish objectives, and then you get to the end and you do a holdout and you win the game, right? All these maps, or all these games, they have stuck to that tried and true strategy, and it has worked. The times that they've deviated from it have not worked. The times where we have gone and done something else, these aren't working. Like Weaves didn't work because it was just the same piece of a map over and over and over again. The Mortis Trials didn't work. This mode isn't working. Why does this mode not work, and why do Mortis Trials not work and normal adventures do? Well, let's explain what's cool about normal adventures and why I've played 3,500 hours of doing mostly those. The adventure mode in Darktide is all about the stories. It tells a story as you adventure through it. I'm not talking about like the lore-based story. I'm not Joe Plays Games, okay? Or here I'm Mr. Ree, okay? I'm thinking about like the combat story, right? When you're in one of these games, there is a roller coaster. There is a give and a take. As you're pushing forward, the enemy is pushing back. As you are trying to be aggressive and push towards the next safe point, the enemy resistance mounts, and you had to push through these choke points. You had to push through difficult parts of the map where enemies have good angles on you and where they are able to take advantageous positions, or there's just so much summoned and you have very little resources to go on. And it's really easy for Darktide or for Fat Shark and the AI director to balance this. This is what the game has always been good at, because what you do is you take a look at the player's resources. The whole game is a game of resource management, right? If you can lower the player's health to 0, all of them, they die, they lose the run. However, you don't want players to lose, right? You want players to win, but barely. That's the game. That is the game here. And so how you make that work in a long linear adventure style mission is you look at, okay, players are moving from point A to point B. If players are getting to point B and on average they have 75% of their resources left, health, ammo, grenades, whatever it is, that's too close. You need to move that point B back a lot. So take that health station that's in there and remove it, or take the charges off of it, or make certain there's less drops, or there's more enemies on the way to tax them more on their resources. By the time players make it to point B, wherever that is, where the next full resupply is, you know, the one of those rooms like that, they should be limping into that room. They should have absolutely just fumes in the tank and just a couple bullets left in their gun, saving one for themselves and one for, I don't know, Hitler, I guess. But yeah, that is how you create drama and intensity within Darktide, is you put players in a situation where they don't get to choose where their fights are happening, they have limited resources to work with, and they have to be resourceful. They have to, think about how they're engaging with this stuff. And if they don't, if they blow too many resources too early, or they don't have the tempo, and they're not making their way efficiently to the next objective where they can get their allies back up, they're gonna start to lose, and then they can, through overwhelming effort, clutch it back. They can make some crazy play and get to the next location and get it done. But man, it's going to be a come from behind story if you do that. That's the game here, and it's really been strong for Darktide and Vermintide and all those games over the past history. The times, as I mentioned, the time where it doesn't work is like this, and it's like Mortis Trials, and it's like but that's pretty much it, right? Darktide is the first time where they've really taken to iterating on this recipe. Oh, Weaves too, right? But these two, Mortis Trials and this game mode, have a lot in common, because both of these game modes revolve around you sitting in one place while enemies come and attack you the vast majority of the time. Even though ostensibly this is a game mode, or this is conceptually where we are going and we're supposed to be looting the resources from these admonition who are out here in the wastes, instead we end up doing hacking mini games while enemies siege our location. So in essence, this game mode is 12 because it's 4, and then you go into airlock, and then it's 4 again, and then you go into airlock, and it's 4 again, of the mid-mission hacking mini games that you play, the worst part of any adventure mode mission, right? The part where you're sitting there and he says, "All right, rejects, we're gonna need you to crack open this next vault door, otherwise we can't progress the mission and have any more fun. So put Hadron's little skull thingy down there and make certain it works properly. Get to it, chop chop." And that's it, right? That's the worst part of the mission, is just sitting there and waiting for that shit to hack and break, and then someone is just shooting all the enemies as they come in, right? It's just not engaging. Even if the fight is pretty difficult, generally it's not that engaging, because why? You're in one fucking room. You can see where the enemies are coming from. You are waiting. You're just waiting. You're just sitting there and waiting. You're removing the tempo from the game. This is why a game mode like Mortis Trials just didn't work. You know, Mortis Trials has all these cool blessings and stuff, and it has potential. However, it's not Chaos Waste. Why did Chaos Waste work? Why do people want a full version of Chaos Waste? Because Chaos Waste is an adventure. It's an adventure-style mission. You start at one point, you start at point A, you go to point B, you go to point Z, you go to point D. And as you're progressing, you're picking up more buffs. You're encountering challenging encounters that are scaled for having these extra superpowers. And if you are superpowered, if your team has gotten lucky and you're very, very powerful, you can push ahead faster. However, as you push ahead, the AI director detects that you're pushing ahead and it summons more stuff to stop you. So that is how this stuff is balanced. It is not balanced in the sense that you're just sitting around and waiting for waves of enemies to spawn out of imagination doors and come and attack you. You're just literally sitting in the same spot waiting to throw a grenade at the dude who spawns out of the warp the warp door that's like 10 feet in front of you, and that's like 95% of Mortis Trials, and that ends up being at least 75% of this game mode. The only entertaining part about this game mode, there's two entertaining parts to me. One is roaming around the map and finding all the little nooks and crannies that hold the extra resources that aren't the main objective spots. The second is the holdouts when you're low on the timer, when like things are running down, the clock is almost out, and you know, the game pulls out the stops and actually tries to hurt you then. But outside of that, there is no intensity here. It is a game where you make your own challenge, and the challenge level is very, very low. Like, if you just avoided most of the passive patrols on the map, you would literally only encounter the enemies that you summon by hacking the location, and those are just jobber enemies. They all just try to climb up and you cut their fingers off as they climb onto the top ledge, and then you just sit there for 2 minutes while the thing hacks, and it just... It'll put you to sleep, right? Imagine if Darktide's regular adventure missions were every next new room you went into, there was a hacking minigame you needed to do in there where you'd wait a minute. And that is this game mode. And so that is what is really working for me. I get an immense sense of satisfaction. I mean, obviously I must because I've done it like thousands of times, but I get an immense sense of satisfaction out of completing an adventure style mode, even like on Auric or some lower difficulty. Like clutching out one of those games feels pretty good if I'm the last one alive. Havoc mode is even better because it's intense, and it's you know, probably a more appropriate challenge of somewhat of my skill level. But yeah, like it feels really good to win those because it feels like a progression, and it feels like I am overcoming an enemy that is intentionally trying to stop me. This game mode feels like I am my own worst enemy. Oops, I walked into a pack of enemies that I could have avoided. I have to trigger this and summon enemies to come and attack me, right? That is the only time. And then obviously you could just make the decision to not hack a thing and get a worse reward and extract at any time and not encounter like any hardships. And being able to avoid hardships, that's not what Darktide is about. Darktide is about, you must make it to the end of the map. I'm going to fuck you up on the way. You cannot choose, you cannot say no, right? There is no no, I don't want it to be that hard option unless you like scale down the difficulty. So yeah, this is just too easy and boring. So that's the overarching hypothesis. But why did I come to that conclusion? Let's start with just talking about the four main categories here. The four things that are supposedly making this game mode, or whatever you want to call it, different. What is it that sets Expeditions apart from anything else in the game? The first of these four is the randomized assets, the randomized nature of the whole thing. Supposedly, by the way, down the line, we're supposed to have more randomized stuff coming. They're supposed to be rotating this out in the near future. A lot hinges on this because there are penances in the shop or in the penance tracker that says you need 18 nodes to unlock these. There's only 8 available currently, so they're going to have to rotate it 2 times in the near future. Is this going to be another one of those alert things where, I don't know, OGs remember, there used to be a penance that said, participate in an alert mission, and that was entirely scrapped. There was never such thing as an alert mission. They just never did that. If this only rotates as often as, like, say, Havoc modifiers do, or the shop, that's far too fucking long, okay? This needs to rotate, like, weekly or something. Yeah, any longer than that, and I'm losing all hope. And if the rotation is just randomizing, like, okay, this mission used to have dogs on it, and now it has nighttime on it. And this one used to have tornadoes, and now it has dogs on it. If it's just that, I'm going to be devastated for this. That would be so... I would be so crestfallen in terms of, like, that would be just such a cripplingly, like depressing like lack of content, I'm really hoping, oh my god, I'm so hoping that there are more biomes that they have explored, that they've made more than what we see here. Because I was initially, and I still am, very impressed by the aesthetics of these randomized environments, of how they look. But having played on them for probably like only 30 or 40 hours, not even really, but probably like 25 hours, maybe 25, 30 hours, I am not really all that impressed anymore, because I've seen it all. I've literally seen it all. And if I'm seeing new stuff, I can't tell the difference, because it's all beige and sand and shit colored, and it just isn't capturing my attention like that. You know, the normal adventure maps, they have these flashes of color and these really cool like aesthetic designs, and initially the environment is beautiful, especially the nighttime missions are beautiful, but the randomized elements, they are so samey. And this is the thing that really kills me is, okay, yeah, the randomization, the intent here was to make it such that players don't feel like they're playing the same mission over and over and over again. If you made the exact same tile set, by the way, I'm going to say tiles from here on out, because as I see it, this whole thing is like one of those puzzles where it's like the big tiles, and you have to slide around and make the painting and make the picture, and there's like one tile missing. It's like that. You get to click these together like some sort of like children's construction set, and they can go together in certain configurations. And then within each tile, there's a spot for one of these dilapidated buildings, one of these resource things to be spawned, and it randomizes that as well. So that's really the only randomization we get here. But, you know, within these tiles, it's all just sandy, dreary, blown out landscapes. And then I've seen all of the hacking locations, and they're always the same. It's always the same, like, you know, objective at the same location. So I'm like, oh, I know that there's a power cell down here, so in one of these random barrels. Okay, now I slot into this thing, and now I wait right here. Done. Okay, that's it. And then I move to the next one. So yeah, that randomization, it's works to an extent, but it's not random enough. And because the terrain generation isn't actually terrain generation, it's just a tile that's being clicked into another tile that they can go adjacent to each other. It doesn't produce anything interesting that you would ever be, I don't know, like inclined to strategize around. And that, I think, is a massive shortfalling of this mode, because on one hand, the reason why they don't want there to be the same map over and over is because players will get bored of knowing exactly where everything else. But on the other hand, knowing the maps in Darktide is very important. It's a really big, important part of growing your skill and knowing more about the game and like performing better. And, you know, you guys might be aware, I have a whole series on fails where players are like submitting and asking how they could do better. And a lot of that advice revolves around knowing your environments better. So like if you're removing the knowledge of the environment from the equation entirely, why do I give a shit about my environment? I look at it, and I look at it and I glance at it and I think aesthetically this is pretty, and I might learn the immediate tile that I'm in and like, oh, this tile happens to have a spot over here where there's like a hidden resource cache. Cool. But on the grand scheme of how do I navigate through this arena, and you know, what am I doing in this zone in order to move urgently? There's no strategizing there because I don't fucking know, because it's random. And because there's no way to have any information about where you're going, you can't make a plan. And even once you've been there for a couple minutes, you don't know enough about this place to plan at that point. So here's a great example. If I go into a zone and I need to get to one of the hacking points, I don't strategize like, okay, what's the best way to get to the hacking point? I just plot the thing on my auspex, and then I just walk in that direction. And then when I get to a wall, I look around and I see if there's any hallways that look like they might go towards the point. I'm not like actually thinking about it, maybe there's a better way to get to this that would avoid more patrols or whatever. I'm just like, I don't know, like I guess just this way, because it's generally in this direction. Same thing happens when it's time to extract, or when you have an ally go down. You don't know the map. There's no way to see the map, and it's random every time, ostensibly. So the person goes down, and I don't know anything different. I just start kind of running generally in their direction and just taking doors that look like they might go in that place. And that extends as well to having combats with enemies, where the enemies engage on you and you run away and you pull into the next location, and you could, like, you know, on a normal map, you'd be like, all right, this is a good position here where we can hold out because the enemies have to climb or whatever. This is like, I pull into the next zone and I have no idea where I am because it's a new zone. So, like, every single time I have an engagement or really do anything, it is just me flying by the seat of my pants. Every time I navigate to any location, I'm just doing it blindly. I'm just kind of walking in that direction, and then I'll make the decision when I see the enemies that are there. Okay, I'll go left here, maybe I can go around them or whatever, but that's it. It removes all higher level thinking about this map from it entirely, which, to make the point, if you ask me, Mr. E, out of the 10 games that you played today, were any 2 of those maps, 2 or more, actually just a duplicate of the exact same map? Or is it actually not randomized, but instead is it actually just a few presets that are pretending to be randomized? And I would not be able to tell you whether it is or not, because I have literally not been giving a shit. Because as soon as you tell me it's randomized, and as soon as, like, it just doesn't matter. I'm just turning that portion of my brain off. I don't care to learn these maps because they're so samey and because the maps don't matter. The only thing I know for a fact is randomized is within certain tiles, it'll spawn different dilapidated buildings. That's the only thing I can guarantee is randomized. But the more and more I think about it, I think there might just be maps here that, like, maybe there aren't tiles. Maybe the tiles are always configured the same way, and then what's randomized is what spawns on those tiles. And that would be even worse. But yeah, okay, so let's put that to the side. Let's talk about a game that does this well really quickly, because obviously this game desperately wants to be Helldivers. This is the Helldivers we have at home. Why does Helldivers randomization lead to a much more replayable experience? Well, it's because their randomization is so much more random. They have so many more random elements to pull from. There are environs. There's a bunch of different biomes in Helldivers, and there's a bunch of different obstacles and threats in Helldivers that, based on where they spawn on the map, and they can spawn really anywhere in the map, it can make your experience way different. So take this for example, right? You've got a large bug hive that spawns, okay? And on one, it spawns and there happens to be the shriekers, the little bat thing that's over on one side, and it happens to also be overlapped with a stalker den. So now, if you want to go for that large bug hive crater, you are going to get harassed by the shriekers and by stalkers while you're doing this thing, and that means that you have to decide, okay, I need to go do these other objectives first in order to make this, like, actually go smoothly. Or, you know, if you're on like a bot planet and you've got a bot factory, sometimes you get lucky and there's like hills and rocky outcroppings that happen to be near these bot factories, and you get the perfect angle. You shoot your grenade launcher right into the vent on those things, blows them up, bada bing, bada boom. You can be done with like a medium outpost in a couple of seconds. But other times you get a bot outpost that's in the middle of a huge fucking nothing wasteland, and on one side it's water and like a little stand of trees, and on the other side it's a huge open flat expanse where you would get murderized if you approach from that perspective, right? Something's going to see you out there, and that means that you have to make decisions of like, okay, I could stealth approach in, like, go by the water, and just based on the randomization of the map, sometimes the map is completely different, where you have a huge sort of like a water that comes to the middle, and there's shallow wading water at some spots, and some spots where you can't wade, and you actually have to like strategize around that because it would take you so long to move from point A to point B for the extract if you don't plan that out correctly. And knowing the map as like top-down perspective is really important in those, and you can know the map in those. And that is what's so lacking here, is you don't know what the map is. And the tiles that you go into don't have any functional features that make them play any differently. So what's the point of the map randomizing at all? Hard to say. So the randomization right now might as well not be random, because I couldn't tell you factually that it is random currently. All right, let's go on to the second thing here, which is the actual game at afoot, the hacking. How do we collect the resources? This is the part that needs the absolute most work of any of this. This is the most mind-numbing thing that they could have possibly slotted into, like, have be done in this game mode. This game mode could have instead just been Monster Hunter, where they just had you go around and fight like souped up bosses or something, and then you collect the resources from them, and that would have been better than whatever this is, where it's literally just back to back to back mid events of hack this thing, wait for enemies to attack you while you're sitting at this location for a minute and a half, and kill them as they come through this door frame, open the thing, leave, rinse and repeat. And it's just like all those mid events where it just doesn't spawn anything interesting, and you can't stealth them. There's a couple that you can stealth, but they're mostly the minimal ones. You can't stealth anything that you actually hack, the primary ones. And because the vast majority of the resources in this map are from these hacking things, there's really no reason to explore the map, right? One of the more rewarding things, like an expedition to me should be a planned and strategized thing where you think about it and you try to survey your surroundings and you know, get the resources and whatever, right? This is just okay, we're at point A, we're gonna go to point B next, and you just go and you go and you go and then you go to the extract. And it is so brainless because you're not thinking about where you are. You don't have to think about the engagement that you're in when you're there, and all you have to do is kill the stuff between you and where you're going. And as long as you're ahead of the timer, it really never gets hard at all. I feel bad for players who aren't able to like mechanically play on at least Auric, because Auric is the only difficulty in this game mode currently that gives you any challenge at all. Damnation might as well be Heresy, and I can't even imagine what Malice is, but the enemies are more or less asleep. There's almost no roving enemies on the map, and the enemies that get summoned to you when you activate these hacking things are like trivial. They're literally like almost no interesting, challenging enemies at all. And that's bad, right? The game needs to be challenging in order to be fun. And yeah, so like the hacking is just so boring. It's always, as I mentioned before, it's always the same. At every time you see a tile, like a building, that building will always have the same challenge. So like when the building pops up, you know, oh, this is the one that has the 3 trash barrels, and one of them has the power cell, and I slot the thing and then I hack the thing. This one is the one that has the 2 hacking things, and then it opens up and there's 2 power cells inside, and then I slot those power cells into the thing and it opens the main door. You know the ones that I'm talking. Oh, this is the one that has the 2 chests in the center of like a little bit of a crater, and then you activate the drone and you stand in a circle for the next minute, right? Those ones. They like, and they're gonna, you know, it's been 2 days and you know them all already if you've been playing. And it's going to get even more mind-numbing than that if they don't have a bunch more up their sleeve, like, immediately. The really big thing here is that this is a hurry-up-and-wait mechanic. We are on a timer. We are trying to get out of here in a fast amount of time. There is no way to speed these mechanics up, right? And the strategy of splitting up from your team makes the thing go slower. Also, this is another game mode where it's just like, fuck you. You know, playing single player or playing without a full party is a fuck you, because it doesn't scale with the number of people in your party. So if you have 2 people, you're going to go at half speed versus having all 4 people in your party being in the zone. So whether in bots don't count towards it. So fuck you on that. So yeah, it's just, oh man, like the hacking is so boring. I've taken to just roaming around the map and collecting all the other resources, and honestly that is a big thing for me, where I think that should be much more of the game, is roaming and looking for resources and taking fights. That should be so much more the focus, rather than these hacks and waiting and sitting at one location things. So there you go. Let's go on and talk about the third thing here. The timer. The timer is actually the only thing that I think is actually working here. And it's something that I saw immediately players did not like, or at least the vocal minority don't like. They were getting fussy about the timer. Oh man, I would have played this mode, but the timer is giving me so much anxiety. I just don't want to feel stressed. I want to explore. I don't need like the timer telling me I can't have the fun I want to have. This mode would be the fucking worst if there was no timer. Oh, I can't even imagine if there was no timer. This mode would be interminable. the Helldivers, first of all, Helldivers has the timer. Why does Helldivers have the timer? Let's ask that question, right? Why does Helldivers have a soft timer that says, okay, past this point, there is no stratagems of these types from your orbiting battlecruiser. Past this point, you're fucking on your own. No more respawns. You're gonna die. You gotta get out of here, or you're dead, right? Why does that happen? Because the game wouldn't have any sense of urgency or choices if you had infinite time, right? If you could take it as slow as you wanted, if you could just play all damn day and take an hour on a Helldivers mission, well then people would, right? People would take forever to do missions, and it would never push you into any interesting engagements. Oh, you gotta put, oh man, you're heading to the extract point, right? This is like, in reality right now, it's like, okay, shit, this, if we complete this objective here, we're gonna get so many more freedom points or whatever the fuck it's called. And then we gotta head to extract, which is full clear across the goddamn map. So we need to lock it down. We can't have one more of these goddamn hostage waves get killed, because we need to get them in there like within the minute and then book our ass across the map. Okay, we got him in there. Now let's book it. Oh shit, there's a patrol directly in our way of getting there. We could, if you had no timer, you would just sit and wait. You would wait for the patrol to move out of the way, and then you'd walk behind them, right? And then you just go to the thing, and then you would just wait at the extract. There would be literally no tension. You wouldn't care about being in the circle to channel it faster. You'd just run around until every single fucking enemy on the map was dead and cleared out, and then you would stand in the circle once it was safe. You would take every engagement super slow. You would scour the entire map as square by square, foot by foot, to look for super resources or whatever. Like, the same thing would happen here. Players would double back and go over every fucking tile to look for the bosses, to look for the scrap, to look for the tech remnants, and there would be no tempo to the game at all. The only challenge, the only time this game makes me have a pulse, is when the timer is at like the last 2 minutes, because when it gets low, it seems that the AI director wakes up and it spawns shit. It actually spawns in bosses, and it starts to put the, turn the clamps on you and apply pressure. And then when the timer is actually out and you enter into the red zone where you start to take corruption damage, that is when the unending horde comes and tries to chase you out of the zone or kill you. And that is the best moment. That actually works, because usually that happens when you're at a holdout right in front of a door to a sanctuary, or the Valkyries coming down, and you are like, oh shit, like, I'm low. If I have no HP because my HP has been corrupted away. There's gas bombers who are throwing on our location. We have to stand in this circle in order to get this open, so I have to stand in the gas. If I get hit at all, I'm going down. And if someone does get hit and goes down, they drop all their resources. You have to make the decision, okay, shit, like, there's 30 seconds to get out there and get the resources. If I don't, the doors will shut and I'll die outside. I can stay in and just let them go and just be like, fuck it, we got what we got. Or I can go and make a chance at it, but if I go down there, I'm losing what I got too. And that sort of decision making, the same thing you have in Helldivers, right? Oh shit, that guy died across the map with all of our super samples. I could make the run and make it back potentially, but by that time there's going to be no respawns left, and like calling the thing down, we should probably call it down now, and then maybe someone can make the run on their own and hope they don't pull a patrol. Like, the decision making would be gone. You would just make, obviously, if you had no timer, the decision is, oh well, we're just going to fight this fight until it's over, and then we'll go out there and we'll get them. I don't want to extract with anything but all of the resources, duh. Like, yeah, so that would be gone. So the timer's working. The timer is working. The only problem I have with the timer is that it doesn't seem to print any enemies until you're in the last few minutes of the timer. And that means that in order to get a good run where you feel like anything fucking happened, and also bosses drop resources, so you want more bosses, that is the only time I tend to see bosses, is in the last 2 minutes of the timer. And if you're moving efficiently, fast and efficiently, you won't get in those last 2 minutes. And also, there's an item in the shop called Rad Stems that extends the timer by 5 minutes, which fucks that all up. So you'll end up waiting, you'll end up doing everything that there is to do, and you'll extract with 5 minutes left on the timer, and you never see any fight at all and it's boring and it's bad. So yeah, the timer is good, but I don't really think that they need to be extending it personally. You can just fight after, like you can just stay after the timer, right? You can just take corruption and play it risky. That's up to you. You can, plenty of games of Fortnite have been won by staying in the storm for as long as possible and then ratting in and sniping afterwards, right? So that is a strategy. Play dangerous to win here. Okay, so let's go into the last of the 4 topics, which is the shop, the sanctuary in between where Swagger is, and he gives you a resupply. This is a cool idea. I think there's a lot of potential here, and I'll get back to that in a second when I talk about my recommendations to the mode. But first of all, the rad stims, I don't even know if they need to be a thing, but also they need to be less. Like there just should be less of them available, or they should give less time or something, because the time pressure is not enough when those give 5 minutes, and you already get 5 minutes for going in there. So it's basically like if someone on the team has $100, you get 10 minutes as of going in the door, and that's like far too much, I think, for the game to stay stay engaging. They can tweak around with that, but as for the other kit in there, it's pretty imbalanced. Like it's definitely not balanced. I'll be making a tier list to talk about like which are the actual good ones, but the stuff that's in here, it just isn't that flavorful. You know what I mean? Like the stratagems in Helldivers, they enable you to take on threats that you wouldn't otherwise be able to take on, and they're specific, right? They're really specific. Like there are ones that have very short cooldowns that are good against lightly armored targets, and you might bring one of those because you're expecting to see a lot of lightly armored targets. You're not able to deal with hordes. There are also ones in there that are for like the orbital like railgun or whatever, where it like locks on the laser onto any target and it'll just instantly kill them. Like that stuff is good if you want to be able to like instantly take out a boss, right? The 500 kg bomb is pretty good for that too, but you have to aim better. There are mines, there's like minefields, there's the turrets, right? A lot of these are Tesla towers, right? These sort of things are strategy based, right? They're called stratagems. They are called stratagems for a reason, and that reason is that there should be an overarching strategy to your use of these, that you are holding them for certain occasions, or you are placing them in certain locations that are going to give you a massive leg up in the coming fight. And that's the sort of idea here. I gather that these items are supposed to be stratagems. I got that, right? It's almost identical, but the fights that you encounter in Darktide are not played the same way. There is no, Hive Tyrant or whatever the fucking thing is called. There's no, I don't even know enemies in Helldivers at this point. But basically, they just don't have the variety of enemies available and engagements available to really draw that out of you. And for my money, a lot of these equipments are incredibly way too fucking powerful for what they're equipped for. Now, this could be just a skill issue, like as in I am too skilled and therefore most engagements are too easy to justify using them, but why on earth does any one of these need to be a forbidden drumstick that can just be an Ogre frag bomb? Like any challenging engagement, boom, okay, I got 2 more of those in my butt in case you were wondering, and I'll nuke you with them if you threaten me again. The orbital strikes or whatever they called, like the artillery shells you can summon in, that stuff, it just levels any boss. And it's complete overkill for anything that actually is in this mode. I oftentimes end up sitting on a lot of my like mines and stuff until the very end of the mission, because the amount of threats that get summoned to you at mid events and like all these hacking events are not at all scary. Usually I'll just use my personal grenades in those, and I'll save the mines and I'll save the drumsticks and artillery stuff for extracting or something, or if a boss shows up, and that's about it. The funny thing to me, like the artillery, The artillery is a great example of exactly what I mean here, right? The artillery is so comically overpowered in terms of the amount of damage that it does, but it's so useless in this mode because enemies aren't going to stand in that little tiny zone that it's in unless you stand there and you bait them in. So like, you know, in Helldivers, you throw your stratagems away from you at the hordes that are approaching, right? And then you get a good 500 kg just as a pack of bugs or whatever the fuck walks underneath it, and you're like, yes, that feels awesome. Here, because enemies don't group up like that, they don't have this swarm mentality generally, they're just coming to you. The way that you use every single one of these stratagems is to throw it on your fucking feet and then just stand on it while the shock mine goes off and obliterates everything 5 times, while the drumstick, pulps everything. The artillery strike yourself because you're standing right next to the boss, right? It just doesn't have any strategy to it. They're all just fuck you, here's a huge amount of damage that obliterates everything. I thought it was very funny. I think I sidetracked myself on this when I was saying this a second ago, but they have a trailer to showcase the artillery strikes, and it's hitting the new Ogren Packmaster boss, and it hits him like 2 times and knocks him down, and then it cuts. And to me, playing early access is like, I know why that cut. Is either the 3rd hit kills him, it turns him into chunks, and they didn't want to show that their big bad boss gets pulped by like a half a volley of artillery fire, because that's how overpowered this shit is. But again, it's overpowered, but it's useless, because the only way you can get enemies to stand in the small range of it is just by standing in it yourself. And if they're right there, you could probably just be meleeing most of them to death anyway, because there's almost never anything that's challenging enough to like justify that level of power. Plus, other stuff that's in here, it's randomized, so you never seem to like get the same stuff. There's a bubble shield generator that literally just puts down a hard to see through version of the Psyker bubble. I guess it's okay. What else? There's like 3 different types of mines. One of them is terrible. The other 2 are really good. And then, yeah, a couple artilleries. Yeah, it just doesn't. There's like 2 things in here that I actually want to buy, and none of it is very colorful. None of it makes me feel like I have anything really different to go into the next zone. It's just, okay, I'm going to the next zone. I've got all my ammo. I've got all my grenades, but also I've got some extra big grenades in case I need to kill more than 2 crushers, and I need to kill 5 crushers. I'll use that instead. And that's it. That's all that these are. It's just extra big fuck you, delete everything buttons. There's no, I don't know what they would go with, but there's nothing really interesting in here that can change the game in any way. There's no game changers that would make you have a different approach from here. But I have some ideas for what they could do for that. We'll get to that, and let's start talking about my ideas for revamping this mode. Let's first start with those randomized assets back at the first of the 4 major things that obviously I wasn't very satisfied with the randomized major assets. Please, Fanshark, I fucking pray to God that you have way more randomized stuff up your sleeve. I'm just going to go ahead and assume that you do, to be charitable, because, man, if you don't, wow, that was, this is a good map and all, but it's been a while, so, geez. But as far as randomized assets, the holdouts, the holdout locations, those are overemphasized in the map generation. I believe I could wrap this together. Let's tackle this together, right? I'll wrap the first part, the randomized map assets and the objective of collecting the resources. I'll wrap this together, right? This can all be one big puzzle. The sites, the hack sites, are far too heavily emphasized in collecting resources, to the point where it is almost not worth doing anything but pathing from point A to point B to collect those sites and then bailing out, right? There's no real resource incentive to roaming generally. There are certain tiles. There are some times where I'll roam around the map and I'll find a good amount of stuff out there. And that can be quite rewarding. But there's other times where you don't find shit, and it's literally all kept in those boxes under lock and key, and you just got to do the hack sites. And those hack sites are terribly boring. So let's incentivize players to like do other stuff, to adventure around the map by putting stuff at other places on the map as well. it gives them more chances to encounter roaming patrols and have to fight them in order to get, like, you know, clear an area and see if there were resources in it, just like in Helldivers, where there are constantly roaming patrols sent past you when you're doing any old activity. Secondly, when I'm talking about those activities themselves, the hack thing, the hacks are terrible. Like, it's just so bad. It's the most boring thing you possibly do. It's sad because Darktide itself actually has several other things you could be doing at this site. They, first of all, like, draw upon the other endgame things for missions, right? Draw upon the other activities that they have you do within missions. One that I immediately thought of is, why is there not any of these that is a you must shatter or you must destroy all of these things, and you have to run around the arena smashing them in order to get it, and you have to, like, break each of them, and as you break them, it, like, you know, summons more dudes or whatever. Why is there not one where there's a bunch of power cells scattered all around the area, and you have to keep bringing them and, like, putting them into this center thing, but, like, the enemies are spawning and trying to shoot you as you're crossing that area? Why is there not I don't know, like, any number of different events that could happen here? Think of the number and diversity of events and locations that occur within the Helldivers scenarios, right? You've got like ones where you're loading a cannon, where you have to collect the cells and get them all in there, and the order you put the cells in there matters, because then you can call them in and use them to bombard the map, which is really, really cool. I thought that one was such a cool idea. There's ones where you have to escort dudes from point A to point B and protect them from getting murdered while they're doing it. There's ones where it's better, like, done stealth, where you just have to reposition an antenna and you have to go back and forth between two consoles to, like, see whether or not you've got it positioned correctly. Why is there not anything? Because obviously this mode doesn't give a fuck about, like, players who are playing alone, right? Why is there not some that are here that are, like, only doable with at least two people, where, like, two different people have to stand on something and then, like, communicate, or it, like, only by activating levers at the same time? Like, draw upon the martyr skull challenges that are within Darktide already, where one person has to stand on the elevator and the other person has to pull down the lever in order to put the elevator up, and then you can go and get to this next thing, and then the other person has to swap with you. Like, team cooperation like that actually takes two people, like, out of the game, and where they have to do that stuff. Meanwhile, your other two players have to, like, you know, hold their fucking line against the enemies that are coming in, because those other two players are fucking around with the objective, right? Right now, all these objectives are just standing in the zone and chopping off dudes' fingers as they try to climb up to you in the zone, and that's it. So yeah, there's so many ideas that are within this game, that are within so many other games, as far as objectives that you could be doing that would make this way more flavorful. Please add some of those. While I'm on that, by the way, because standing around and defending a location sucks, right? Players want to be aggressive. That is what makes Mortis Trials suck, and what makes Chaos Waste so good, is players want to blast through the map. They want to roll up on the enemies. They want to invite the challenge upon themselves and then destroy it with the chest of trials. You know, they want to encounter the patrol and be the first person to get the patrol and slaughter it, right? That's the cool part when you're in this game, is seeing the big patrol and then going bowling into it, or throwing your forbidden drumstick at it. That stuff is cool. What's not cool is waiting around for enemies to come to you. So let's flip this. Because these locations that have the tech remnants at them, that's supposed to be like that's their shit, right? We're coming and we're smashing, we're grabbing the admonition shit. Like, they wanted this stuff. They know where it is, clearly. Like, it's just inside this locked door. They could get it if they wanted. Have there be massive fucking patrols outside these locations. So if you want to get a guaranteed loot of a bunch of stuff, and you have some time, you would look and say, okay, well, fuck, there's a captain and a crusher patrol at this location just walking around. If I don't go fuck with it, they won't fuck with me. But if I am going to go fuck with it and hack it, I'm going to have to fight them all. Like, I'm going to have to fight them all to realistically get in there and get this. So that way, you have this feeling of, oh shit, like, I'm juiced up. I got a bunch of gear from the thing. I can throw down. I'm going to throw an artillery on that. I'm going to blast all these guys to the kingdom come, and then we're going to take it, right? That would give you an excuse to use your resources, and you'll just like you'll have such a better engagement. And this will also enable you to look at the objective and say, okay, look at the number of enemies that are there, and then think about how long it would take to kill all those, and then look at the timer. Do I have time to do this? Versus what it's currently at, which is, okay, I have time to do this. I get summoned in. Okay, now 18 gas bombers spawn, and it pushes me off the location, and now I have to wait outside of it for a while. Okay, now I'm out of time. I can't do this. Instead of, I need to know up front. It would be way better for players to have that knowledge up front of, like, this is what you're going to be getting into, and then you can also be on the aggressive. You can take the fight to the enemies with what you got, rather than always being on the defensive and sitting on one spot and being super bored. So that's just one really good idea that someone put out there. Let's also talk about the randomized map and navigating the map. Currently, navigating the map is terrible, as I mentioned. Like, you have no idea where you're going because the maps are potentially randomized, or they're always the same, and I just haven't noticed because I'm not paying attention. But the auspex is supposedly how we are supposed to navigate between locations, like resource locations, but it's literally the most useless thing in the world. It literally only tells you where 6 things are, the 4 locations or however many locations it is, the extract, and the door to the sanctuary, and that's it. Why is there not any other information on this auspex? This is what they need to do. Okay, take the auspex, all those waypoints on there. They can stay on the auspex, but they need to always be on your compass at the top of the screen, not just the one that's marked, all of them, right? So that you don't have to pull up the auspex if you don't want to and you just want to head in a direction. Pulling up the auspex should give you the option to tag one of them to show to your team that you want to go to that one, but also, as you move through the environment, it's a fucking auspex. It should be able to make a rudimentary map of where you've been. So when you are about to go to the extract and get to the door, you can pull up the auspex and see everywhere you've been on the map, and if you did a better, more thorough job of adventuring through the map to this point, you'll have a more complete map, and then you can see, all right, team, we just need to go straight here, and then left, and then straight again, and then we'll be at the extract door. Boom, amazing, right? That would give you that map knowledge that you can't have because it's always randomized, but the scanner, the auspex is able to remember it for you, which is what it should just be doing anyway. It shouldn't be available to you as you're going in. You should have to roam around for it, unless, of course, you want to buy it from the shop. There should be an option in the shop to buy, like, auspex radar scanning data for the next zone, to have a rudimentary map of the zone given to you so that you can have information going in rather than firepower. And that would save you time, and that would save you grief. That would be super, super cool. Now, something else while I'm here, talking about the auspex and talking about the sanctuary, and like how that works, I believe personally that if you do get the auspex data, there should be a way to plan or share a plan with your allies. If they could, they should be able to, if they could, have there be a way you can draw on the auspex and draw a line and show where you're going, right? Or like indicate in some way like a location that you want players to go to other than just the 4 locations that you want to go to. That would be really, really cool. Like to draw out a game plan, because when I think of an expedition, I don't remember if I mentioned this already. I'm kind of in a delirious state here, but when I think of an expedition, I don't think of a by the seat of our pants sort of thing. I think of a thing that's plotted out, and we've got heist targets to hit, and we are scouting these areas, and you go this way, and yada yada. Like that's what an expedition is. Like it's done by people who are smart, not people who are just like kind of randomly scrabbling it together. Okay, so that's everything about auspex and generating the fights and making the random generation better. Let's talk about the stuff that is in the map to experience. The sandstorms and the like the modifiers. God, I hope they have more, like, planned. Sandstorms, first of all, I'm glad to see that the Blightstormer is back. Sad to see he's been downgraded to playing with sand rather than blight, but welcome back. The Sandstorms should not just be like a whirling dervish. First of all, that thing is annoying, and a lot of times it'll just sit on top of your objective, and it should just fuck off. But at the same time, most of those missions, you never interact with those at all, and so they might as well not be there. The Sandstorm missions should have those, but also they should have periods of very low visibility where sand is whipping across the screen and you can't see shit, right? Where you can't engage at long range. You'll accidentally walk into big packs of dudes. And this would give extra advantage to teams who have like tagging on point, or have dogs to scout with execution order or executioner stance, who can highlight these enemies in the sand, so you'll know where the shit is. That would be super way improved. It would be much more aesthetic. That's what I was thinking we would get when I heard sandstorms, because we already have low visibility stuff in the game with the sniper low visibility with the fog. That should just be a sand version of that with wind and sand. Okay, and then let's also talk about other stuff that should be in the map. Ammo, like at least some in the map. Right now, the ammo sustain thing, it basically, you can only really shoot if you're one of a couple of classes who can relatively sustain their ammo. But like otherwise, you know, there are classes in the game that want to play with ranged guns, but that need to pick up ammo supplies occasionally. And right now there's no ammo to pick up when you're out there at all, and no health or no resources of any sort. And so what'll happen is, like, I'm playing RBDs and I want to play like a ranged build with like a revolver RBDs, and I just can't, because I'll run out of ammo in like no time. And Hive Scum has a whole like aura that literally does nothing during that part of the game, like at all, because there's no ammo pickups. However, it does make it so that if someone picks up ammo in the intermission room, it gives everybody full ammo, which I guess is a good one way to balance that. But yeah, it just seems like there needs to be a little bit of ammo that's out there to give players a reason to loot around. Again, don't put it at the main hack locations, put it scattered around the map so players who are roaming and looting and scrounging and scavenging can better sustain. Maybe you could be dropped off of enemies, so that engaging more enemies has a chance to give you resources. You could net positive resources if you're efficient in engaging those enemies. It's just a thought. And then I think that's about all the ideas I have. Oh, wait, no. Hold on. There's one more Omega idea that I have. This is the #1 idea. Someone suggested this, and I kind of co-opted a little bit. Okay. This should be, in each zone of the 3 zones or 5 zones or however many there are, depending on the map you're in, there needs to be an admonition cult ritual, okay? And at the center of this ritual is an altar. And you can disrupt this ritual, and you can take on a fight with like a demon host or something, right? And once you have cleared the demon host, then you can appease the altar, and the altar will give you a buff. And these buffs, because they are like corrupted, or they're magic, they're coming from Nurgle or whoever the fuck. These are just the Mortis Trials buffs. Just bring the Mortis Trials buffs in. You could choose a specific subset of these buffs that you wanted to be available in this game mode, because some of them are like way too OP. But choose a specific subset and allow those to be brought in, and have this be an optional challenge, something that is not on the map. First of all, it should be hidden on the map, but if you have players who are effectively scouting the map and looking and they find it, you'll need everybody to get together to take it out, because it will be challenging. Like a demon host will kill an individual player, and then they take it out, and then everybody that touches it can get their buff, and perhaps maybe it also like gives you like a permanent corruption of like 10% or 20% of your health or something like that, like if you really wanted to make it any harder. But I think also the time cost for going and finding that and killing it would also probably be a good enough penalty. But yeah, having those Mortis Trials buffs make an introduction here as part of admonition rituals or something would add this potential cool like extra element. More randomized effects like that, and this is something I know as a roguelike lover. You know, having really potential high roll, crazy synergies that you'll get every once in a while. Like every once in a while, you'd find one of those rituals and you get this perfect buff for the build that you're running, and you would have an amazing game with it, and that would really stand out to you. When the most amazing build that you can currently get is just bringing your current build and also picking up a exploding like forbidden drumstick, that isn't ever going to stand out. That is almost no different than the default thing. But making these Mortis Trials buffs be available, perhaps they could even have like downsides at the same time because they are corrupted evil buffs. Like you get this, you lose half of your total HP. You know those buffs that were in, there were some buffs exactly like that in Chaos Waste where it's like, okay, you have 50% less maximum HP. However, you deal 25% more damage. Something like that, right? They would really sort of tip the scale, and could be a really cool buff to take that would be double-edged. So that would be that's the overall for things that I would add to the game mode itself. Now let's wrap up and talk about the ultimate question here is, what is the point of this mode? Why is anyone going to want to play this mode? So right now, people are going to play and get their penances, and they're going to stop playing, would be my guess. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play, I'm going to get my penances, and I'm done. Because this isn't entertaining. It's not tickling my brain in any real way. I'm not engaged to continue playing with this. I don't have that sense of wonderment of like, what am I going to find here? I did for the first day, and then I got to the last map, and I'm like, ah, shit, there's nothing, is there? This is all the same slop. I could play Chaos Waste over and over and over again. I could play my favorite roguelikes over and over and over again, like Enter the Gungeon and stuff, because you'll never get the same combination of buffs and items and weapons and the same challenges in the run. Every challenge in these runs feels the exact same. You've seen all the items already. There's like 7 of them total, and like it's just all the environments are always the same. Challenge, yeah, it's always the same over and over and over again. Adding something that this is building for is like the only reason to encourage players to run this over and over. If the gameplay is repetitive like this, you need a grind that players are working for. They're working for the penances right now, but when penances wear off and everybody's got their 250,000 scrap or tech remnants collected and 100,000 scrap spent, they're dumping it. They're 100% dumping this shit because it's not that entertaining moment to moment. And so what they need to do is they need to have a system. If they want to have players continue to play this game and they don't want it to die, it needs to have a system tied to it that is exclusive, that you can get something that benefits your character no matter what you play if you play this mode. And my suggestion is that they revamp curios for this mode. Curios are supposedly like little trinkets or like remnants. This area, the Deadlanders, Deadsiders, whatever they're called, these people feel like they would be pretty good at like crafting curios and stuff, right? Tech remnants feels like you could make curios or something out of it. Have there be like revamp curios entirely, and make it so that you can only craft your curios if you have the resources, if you have tech remnants from this mode. And make it as expensive as fuck, right? Make it really expensive. Make players have to grind a lot to get like really crazy, well-rolled curios, and add new things that you can keep your current curios, right? But also we're introducing a new curio crafting system. You'll need to play this mode to get it, and in order to get these really crazy rolls, man, you'll need to have quite a few tech remnants on hand, and you'll need to do that for each of your classes, and that would give players a ton of reason to play. I'm telling you right now, I hate playing this game mode. It sucks. It bores me to tears a lot of times. But if you told me that there was new curios coming to the game and I needed to grind up 50,000 tech remnants on each of my characters, on each of my 6 characters, in order to get a full complement of these new curios that can give you like +1 extra grenade, or 2% of your ammo regenerated every 30 seconds, or whatever it is, just small passive crazy buffs like that could lead to different builds, or revolutionize your strategies, or like make certain weapons viable that weren't viable before. If that's what curios were able to do, and you added that out and you put it behind me playing this game for 100 more hours, I would do it without batting a fucking eye. I would immediately do it because I will put myself through the fucking grinder to make my character 5% more powerful, because that's what I'm after, right? I play Warframe, man. You think you haven't suffered before? Okay, I play fucking Warframe. I'm MR30, motherfucker. So like, I know pain. Okay, I will do pointless shit for eons. And if you gave me a game like this where I love my characters and I want my characters to have these cool and interesting and optimized builds, there is very little I wouldn't do to get them optimized. So put a piece of exclusive optimization, it doesn't have to be curios, but I think it's a great idea behind this. A lot of people have said red weapons, like put red weapons behind this, could be potential, or just have like the glowing skins for red weapons be behind this. That could be potential. I don't think that like actually buffing every weapon to 80, like full on red status, having max stats on everything, is probably like what Darktide needs right now in terms of power balance, but I could see doing something like that. In any case, exclusive chase that you can only grind out by playing this mode. That's the overarching thought. Okay, so there you go. That is the full 1 hour plus breakdown of why this game mode's stinky and needs a lot of help if it's going to be anything in the future rather than just another dead game mode. I really hope it doesn't die, because that shark blew a ton of fucking time making this clearly, and it would suck if this isn't going to get like chopped up and turned into maps too. Please God, turn this into like actual adventure mode maps, because they actually would be very cool. I just don't want to play this. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching. Sorry it was such a long one, or I guess you're welcome as such a long one, depending on what sort of weirdo you are. And I'll see you next time. Mr. Beyond, bye-bye.